Hi, I'm Kingi. I was invited by Chris Howarth of United World Schools in Cambodia to visit there. My job was to bring, set up, teach, and even leave a silkscreen system to use with the Hill Tribe children that are educated there. Now, like most people, I didn't know much about Cambodia before I left, or its people, but what I learned was so interesting. Here's my story.
Cambodia is a really unique country. It suffered the Khmer Rouge. Its educated class were eliminated. 25% of the population of this country was killed. And the indigenous people were completely isolated. They speak their own language, they have their own culture, there was prejudice against them. So being so isolated, having no real form of cash income, they were hunter-gatherers in the jungle. But development was surging towards them. Development was coming. And these people were going to be isolated and marginalized and abused if they could not speak the national language, if they did not have some understanding of reading, writing, and counting. So we felt this is our place. We felt we can do this. We can support these people.
Rattanakkiri, Mountains of Gems, is the poor northeastern province of Cambodia that is still recovering from war and devastation of the Khmer Rouge. With low life expectancy, most homes without electricity or plumbing, and the literacy rate of just over 50%, education is vital for a better future. Ben Lung is the capital of the province and home to United World Schools, Cambodia.
We're building schools which look like part of a village. They're simple wooden structures. 3 classrooms facing in on a central platform with a teacher house, with toilets, with solar panels so we can have evening classes for the adults. We can encourage a little bit of agriculture, growing a few vegetables. But when you first arrive in the school, often people say to me, "Well, that's quite simple." And it is, and it's designed to be simple. But it's when you go into the classroom, when we have government teachers, paid for by the government, speaking Khmer, and then you have the community teachers who speak their own indigenous language, paid and supported by UWS. So you then have this combination of the government teachers and the community teachers, 2 different languages, and we train and support and put in equipment. Actually, you might have a simple classroom, but the quality of teaching and the quality of learning that's going on there is making that difference. And the school began to be successful. So the obvious thing is, well, let's build another. So we built school 2, and then school 3. And then we decided that, hey, if we partner these schools to schools in the richer parts of the world, we can make these schools much more sustainable. We get an income, and we start creating a global family that understands the need of education. Children in one half of the world helping children in another half of the world. So we started partnering these schools, and it grew. So today, now, here in Rattanakkiri, we've got 24 schools. In the next province, we've got another 12. So from a very simple idea of creating one school, it's now grown into what is now a multinational with schools in Cambodia and Myanmar and in Nepal. Most of our staff are Khmer staff. We've got a small team of people based in London, but our overheads we keep to an absolute minimum so that most of the money, high percentage of the money, goes into the actual schools and the education of what we're trying to achieve. How do we do this? We use local people. We don't build the schools. We don't even give them money. What we do is pay for materials, move the materials into the village and say to the village, hey, you guys, you want a school? You build it. Come on, guys, we'll give you a man, a builder who knows what to do. You all be as laborers. You clear the ground, you cut the wood, you do the foundations, you do it all. We'll give you the support. We're not going to give you money. All we're going to do is give you the nails. We're going to give you the hammer. We're going to give you the stuff to build it with. So we control the cash flow. Absolutely our control. And then we get the local people to do the building. Work locally, and you keep things cheaper.
Teaching art and screen printing has always been a challenge. Every student and class is different. But concentrating all my gear into one very heavy suitcase and getting it all the way to northern Cambodia was an adventure. But we made it. The only thing I didn't bring was some pieces of heavy glass that I need to weigh down my screens. It was too heavy and might break, so we ventured to the outskirts of town. Luckily, we found an amazing shop and they set us up fine. I knew because I didn't speak Khmer, I would need an interpreter. It was great meeting Leek, as she was the perfect go-between with me and the girls. It was amazing how well we communicated. I was sent 2 groups of girls, about 13, 14 years of age, from different hill tribe villages for my silk screening project. It was a special overnight stay for them in the UWS building in Ban Long. Many of them had never been to town before, and you could see that they wore their best outfits. It's important to me that my students really understand photo emulsion screen printing. I love screen printing because it combines a bit of science and logical thinking with creativity, with some possible entrepreneurship potential. All great to get kids' wheels spinning. First, the students created artwork. I wanted to keep it simple. I said, "We in Canada want to see your world. We don't know it well. I, for example, didn't know your houses were raised up on stilts." And that made everyone laugh. It was important because it made the girls reflect on their environment, what they observed, and how to put that onto paper. Now they had a message for the outside world. They had a voice and a new medium to use, and it was up to them to figure out what they wanted to say and how they would say it with art.
Art has no boundaries. It has no rules. It has no right or wrong. It has no success or failure. It is no yes, no. Art is what you can produce, what you can make.
When the artwork is done, we needed to make and put it on screens. Here's how we did that. First, we prepared our silk screens. That means stapling the silkscreen mesh onto wooden frames. The mesh allows you to squish ink through when you create a print. After that, we put photo emulsion onto our screens. This stuff is great because it reacts to light. When you first put the emulsion onto your screen, it's water soluble. In other words, it'll wash out when sprayed with water. And if you let it dry in a dark place, it'll stay water soluble. If this emulsion is exposed to light for long enough, especially UV light, it changes to being non-water soluble. And that's why we like it. So to get the artwork onto the screen, you have to make sure your image is opaque. Here we used black Sharpies and the paper that was drawn onto was translucent. Then you put your artwork against your prepared and dry screen and press them close together for good contact with glass. Yep. Next, you shine UV light onto it for a few minutes, right through the glass. Love the exposure unit I made out of a Canadian Tire halogen lamp. To hold it above the screen, I used a turned over chair I found, MacGyver style. Then you take the artwork and glass off your screen and spray it out with water. It seems like magic. Where the light could get to the emulsion, it changed to non-water soluble. It doesn't wash out. But where the light couldn't get to the emulsion, it stays water soluble and does wash out. That creates a negative or a stencil to print with. Once the screens are washed out, we dried them in the hot Cambodian sun, and then we were ready to print. I made a print surface for the girls to print on by taking all the blankets I could find and spreading them out on the UWS table and covering it all up with canvas that I brought with me. It was perfect. A few quick lessons on how to print. That's squishing mixed ink through the screen mesh stencil, and the girls were good to go. We printed the rest of the days away. And then we dried our newly made fabric outside. We also had to figure out what to make out of the fabric, and I wanted this to be the girls' decision. They discussed it and figured that the best thing they wanted to make was knapsacks, and they drew a blueprint just for me to use.
So what we want to achieve is to get children to think. If we get this grey stuff moving around and we get their eyes lightening up and we get that smile on the face, we want children to think. Art is the medium to do that. We very simply can give that child a piece of paper and a crayon. It's the first time they picked up a crayon, it's the first time they've seen a bit of paper, and they can create some artwork. And from there, they do have to think. You can't just give them a piece of paper and say, draw. What am I going to draw? How am I going to draw it? Can we give them guidelines? Can we give them some support? Can we give them some ideas? Yes, of course. But all the time, that child has to think. It has to be creative. And as I say, there's no boundaries. So whatever that child produces, it's good. It's their work. It comes from them and it comes out on the piece of paper. Or it comes out if they make a model with leaves, or they make a model with wood, or they make collage. All these things involves the child thinking and using the natural environment as our resource. But the most important thing to me is that art means a child has to think. And they can do that from a tiny age. So, yeah, I'm an old sportsman. But I admit it, I've been totally converted into the power and the use of art in education. And I suppose this environment lends itself to art.
Hi, here we are in my print studio in Toronto, Canada, because I wanted to show you some of the bags made with the girls' fabric. They designed this bag. They wanted it printed on both sides, different patches, pockets, drawstring. I think they're amazing and all different. And if you like one, they're $29 and all the proceeds goes to United World Schools. But you probably noticed in the video, I only was teaching girls and they were about 13 to 15 years of age. This group was very important to UWS, and the reasons for me teaching them were very interesting and I feel global.
This is really my passion to work on UWS because I really believe in this job, as I always see the girl improves in the village. Without UWS, without school, I can say, for their village, they probably get married in the age of 13. The girl get ready and then to get married in that age, and they probably have first baby when they are 14, 15, and they have a lot of baby because they got no choice. They know nothing about to protect themselves, whatever, and most of the baby die, and the moms also mostly really they got a lot of problem after giving birth, or some not even survive.
Girls are extremely important. It's no point just educating 50% of your population. You've got to educate 100% of your population and use all the talent you've got, particularly in a country where so many people died during the Khmer Rouge years. Let's use all the talent we've got. There is no doubt within this culture there is a hierarchical men-women. If we can show that the girls can contribute to being a better society, they can offer their abilities and their talents. We can lift the girls out of a cycle of poverty which just really gives them the opportunity to be a mother, a farm worker. So the girls here They change from being a young child to an old woman in about 2 years, where they have 2 babies. Everything is too young for them. It all comes too quickly. They don't have the opportunity to grow up like we do in the West. Now, we're not going to change culture. We've got no right to change culture. But what we want to do is to give opportunity. We want the girls to have a choice in their life. We in the West assume that we've got the choice. We want here to give girls particularly that opportunity to have a choice. So if they want to be a teacher, they can do. If they want to be a nurse, they can do. Let them have a dream in the same way as in the West we have dreams. Each school is partnered to a school somewhere in the richer part of the world. We've got partner schools from Japan to Italy to Germany to UK to Hong Kong to Singapore. That's what we call ourselves United World. And these schools raise $10,000 to run that school for a year. Now, some of that money will, yes, go to overheads. Yes, we've got to have 4x4s that can get through the jungle. We've got to put fuel in that, of course. There is something, for me, really beautiful about the principle of a child helping a child in another part of the world. So if a child is able to raise some money, to learn about the Cambodia story, to learn about what happened in the Pol Pot years, to embrace the culture here, but live abroad. So they can learn about Cambodia, they can learn about its unique history, they can learn about the hardships of the people here, because we can connect them. We can connect them through Skype, we can connect them through modern IT. So the people who are raising the money in one part of the world can actually feel part of what they're achieving. As they get older, these students in other parts of the world, they come here. They come here and see their school. They come here and teach in their school. They can either come as a school unit, as a trip, or they can come as individuals. And we would ask and encourage anyone who's interested in development, anyone who's interested in getting young people to help. Now, here's my point. I believe young people have got a great heart. Young people want to give to the wider community. Their issue, their problem, is they don't know how to. UWS is unique. UWS provides that opportunity for young people to be able to assist and support some of the poorest people in the world. There are too many children on this planet who don't have the opportunity to go to school or an opportunity to have an education. There are still too many. Rough estimate by the United Nations would be 56 million. 56 million children who don't go to school. I believe in 2016 every single child should have that opportunity. And this is a global development goal, so that every child has got that opportunity to go to school. Now, obviously, UWS is not going to put 56 million children into school, but we can scratch that surface. We can make a mark. So, in the next 3 years, let's get UWS putting 50,000 children into school. That's our mission in the next 3 years. At the moment, we're on about 8,000. We've got a long way to go, 42,000 more children to get into school. But hey, if everyone comes together, if everyone says, this is doable, because UWS has proved that it can be done. We started with nothing, and now we've got 8,000 children into school. So if you start with nothing in a few years and get 8,000, what are we going to do? Now we've got resources. Now we're working in 3 different countries, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Nepal. And any one of us can be part of it. All we've got to do is put your hand up, go to the website, look on Facebook, find it, join it, and become part of it. It's simple.
So that is my story, my Cambodian adventure with United World Schools. I love teaching art, and I was so fortunate to work with such an amazing organization. As a Canadian, I'm of course reminded of our own past failed attempt to teach our Aboriginal peoples. What if things had been different? Because what I saw in Cambodia was a bright, respectful, and smart method of education, and that gives me so much hope. I know we can't change the past, but together we can change the future.